Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, YouTube. I know this is not the most ideal time to be going live. That I know, but you know what? I gotta do it the way it makes sense sometimes, and for now, this is how it makes sense. Um, I was just thinking to myself a second ago before I came on here that I would never in a million years ever think that I would be on YouTube speaking about spirituality, speaking about God. I thought it was just a relationship for myself. I thought it was just something that was really private for me because it definitely is something that I've kept to myself for years. Um, it's something that started really taking over, and I got very like overwhelmed with the way that I feel. So you can imagine maybe like a newlywed, I would say, or someone who has something very exciting, and every time you talk to them and everybody that they talk to, they're just at the point where it's like they're waiting for the pause in the conversation so they can bring it up. And I ended up getting like that where I'm just waiting for breaks in conversations to bring up God. And it was weird because people were like, people would just look at me like, what? This is so random. Like, where did this come from? But that's how it has been for some time. Um, and it's been bursting out of me, if anything, where I mean, I initially started off with my awakening and all of that. I initially started off keeping it to myself, like to the point that I wouldn't want anyone to know that I meditated. It was very like my kids at one point would say to me, we hear your videos in the morning or whatnot. But as far as me talking to people or telling people my experiences or whatnot, like that was not happening at all. So it is very weird. Not weird, is weird the correct word? It is surreal. It is surreal to me that I am sitting here on a platform talking about God every day. And I think too, sometimes with the messages that I give, I think initially when I get a message, um, I just trust it and I go along with it and I give the message. But it's not because I think that sometimes it's not that I'm not confident in it. I don't know where it's coming from and I don't understand all the time. I just trust with it and I go with it. And then sometimes later on, I'm like, holy crap. If I had understood how true that was at the time, probably I would have delivered it differently. So there's some messages where I almost want to go back and like re-deliver the message with more passion because I'm like, I said that a bit too casually. Like, this is really true. I think waking up and seeing things as they are and realizing things are nothing like we were told, like we were taught. It is nothing like that. Even if they may have told us, the impression that they gave us completely different. Nothing is as you see it. Things are things that you thought were just metaphorical are literal. They are literal. You read things in the Bible. For example, the Holy Spirit was the first one for me. You read that in the Bible and you're like, oh, okay. And you kind of like don't, it's not that you don't take it seriously. You pray to the Holy Spirit and whatnot. It's that you don't take it as literally as it is. I have not taken it as literally as it is until I woke up. And then I'm like, oh my God, it literally is a spirit. And people sit back and they may hear it and they'll demonize you and say, you're a witch and you're this and you're that. But it's like, God is actually a spirit of physical presence that is here, physically, always here, always watching, always guiding, literally with you. And you end up, well, I don't know, I can speak obviously only for myself from experience, but it's like I end up knowing things and I'm like, I cannot speak about this because I don't know what this means. I don't even know if this makes sense to anyone. And then later on, you're reading about it in multiple places, this thing that you, and you're like, what on earth? The spiritual path is one of the most beautiful walks I have ever seen in my life, but it also enlightens me to how much people have been purposely led astray. I've witnessed that with gang stalkers that literally they go out of their way to give misinformation. They go out of their way to lead people the wrong way. I definitely feel like part of when they do destiny swaps with people who are light workers, it is because they know people will wake other people up and they will lose what I call, or what is called, strongholds. It's not just because, there's some sort of that too. Obviously, if it comes with any sort of like what I guess a person would call money or whatever, if it comes with that as well, sure. But really, it comes down to things that they are doing that persecute other people, blocking that. And that's really what they want to do, is they want to block those strongholds that they have. And so they assign themselves, or they get assigned to particular people to stop them from ascending, stop them from giving messages, because the messages are actually true. The messages will wake people up and people will come to love God, because loving God is not like the way they paint loving God. Like when you're younger, you really think loving God is boring, and you think it's like it's something you're forced to do, and it's like, how do I even put this? You're forced to do it. It's gonna be boring. It's gonna take a lot out of you. It's not gonna be fun. You're not gonna be able to do things that other people are doing and whatnot. And then you awaken and you realize all the reasons that everything, they had to make things look fun in order to do it. They had to make it look fun to do certain things. They had to make it look fun to sleep around. They had to make it look fun to laugh at people. They had to make it look fun to be low vibrational, to do horrible things. Because if they didn't make it look fun to do these kind of things, then what would end up happening is you probably might not be attracted to doing things like that. If they painted doing positive things in the light that it should be painted in, then you would see the value in it. So you start seeing they push the boundaries further and further. When you look at things like being in love, in real love, true love, being in love that is pure, being in love that is real, the way that God intends, you realize, just last night, for example, I was reading something last night and it was talking about basically having sex, and how that will, how that takes energy from a woman, and how that depletes a woman of energy, because it does take energy from you. Like, I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about energetically. And somebody came in with a comment and was basically saying that they have been in a marriage for decades and they have a very active sex life with their partner and whatever, and just saying things about like things need to be balanced and stuff like that. It's not always one way, and I think that's the truth. You have to be in a good marriage have real love, real commitment, be well paired, and then this whole thing, this picture that they paint, this erroneous picture of, well, if you're only with one person, you're going to get bored of sleeping with them, you're going to cheat, you're going to do this and that. It's not correct. It's erroneous. So we have to almost, as it's like, maybe perhaps we're being awakened so that we can tell other people, like, this is not true. This is not true. You can literally be with someone when you're well paired, and when the decision of who you were with was come into not just by you, but this person was selected by your spirit guides, by God, approved. And it is possible for a person to be approved for you, but not right now or not in this condition. When people, it's, back in the day, you had to go to someone's parents for their hand in marriage. You had to be approved, and there was a vetting process. They had to go to their family, they had to see what their family's about, they had to spend time with this person, they had to understand this person, they had to see if they like this person, if it would make sense. And different people in your family have different agendas. Like your father might say, can this person provide? Is this person going to be abusive? Is this person going to protect you? Are they going to defend you? Are they going to take good care of you? And your mother is going to think, are they kind? Are they soft? Are they going to be soft with you? Are they going to be compassionate? Are they going to be a good father? Not in the sense of providing, but maybe in the sense of, are they going to connect and spend time with their family? Are they a person that likes to go out? So there's different considerations, but someone comes to your family and your family vets them, and your family says yay or nay, or not yet, or not like this, or these are the things that a person has to do in order to come back. So they put a person through a lot before they're appropriate. So when they do marry, they stay married. When they do come into union, it's, and there's, now I understand it better. I always understood it, but I understand it better, where it's like the arranged marriages where you don't know the person that you're marrying, but they're very confident that over time you guys will be fine. And I've heard people in arranged marriages talk like this, where they talk about the fact, like, how much they love each other, because of the fact that the character that's there already made sense. So it's the same way that people say things like, they present all of these ideas, because now, even in our society, we beat down on the idea of arranged marriage in the West, because it's almost like people have to pick for themselves. People pick for themselves and then they make a wrong choice. And the choices that they're making, look at how society wants to have us choose a partner. How much money do they have? What do they look like? Not saying that being a provider is not important, but how much money do they have, when marriages are really about cultivating a life together, building the life together, going and getting the money together. So you look at things like, how much money do they have? What do they look like? And North Americans are talking about things like, how tall are you? How can a person control their height? How tall are you? How fat are you? How small are your toes? How big are your hands? Like, things that are not going to contribute to your children's life experience or your life experience in this marriage. And then we wonder why we find ourselves in these issues. But your family, your spiritual family, is more concerned about a person's heart, a person's character, how obedient a person is going to be, what kind of spiritual family that person also comes from. They're looking at things like that are very important, that are going to be what makes sense for you. And when they find something appropriate, even the family is pushing you, like, this makes sense. This makes sense for you. I witnessed this in Nigerian culture, where sometimes the girl does not want to marry and the parents are like, this is what makes sense. And sometimes the parents will push them to marry even. So, I'm saying all that to say that a lot of these ideas that we've been presented with about what it looks like to live this life happily, what it looks like to live a successful life, a peaceful life, a happy life, we have been led astray in every way possible. Every possible way that we could have found some peace in our world, we were led astray. Whether it's ideas about sex and intimacy, whether it's ideas about other people who's worthy of admiration and love and compassion and who's not, whether it was ideas about God, who God really is, how God really operates, about ourself, about our power, about our spiritual power, all of it, it's all lies. And it's all lies that demonic entities and that lower level entities bring forth in order to steal from us what rightfully is our inheritance here on earth, because we are not brought here to suffer. We are brought here to enjoy life. We are brought here to experience life, everything that life has to offer. And we do so with spirit. And denying our spirit and our higher selves is what is going to lead to all of the suffering, because once we block ourselves from spirit, we block ourselves from the light, we find ourselves vulnerable to darkness. We find ourselves in a position where darkness can take hold of us. We find ourselves in a position where we should never have been in the places that we were. Now, not to say that God doesn't sometimes put us in bad situations for our learning or to help other people or to be an example to others. It's not to say that, because life experience comes through understanding. But it's just to say that some of these issues, a lot of these issues could have been avoidable. A lot of the things that we are enduring here on earth are avoidable and should have been avoided. So today I'm going to talk about spiritual inheritances, and I'm going to talk about what I call a last will and testament. A last will and testament is a document that we refer to as a will with multiple parts. There are parts like power of attorneys. There are financial power of attorneys, which means that if you are still alive or maybe passed away, people can handle your financial affairs for you as if they are you. So they can walk into the bank with this document as you, and they can handle things on your behalf. They can handle money, anything financial. It could be like, passing on of a home, selling a home, deciding what to do with the proceeds of it, etc. Then there are medical power of attorneys, which basically means that if you are medically incapacitated, someone can make medical decisions on your behalf. So someone can say, approve a medical treatment if it's risky, approve surgery, or if you are laying in bed, on your deathbed, they can say pull the plug because there's no point in, continuing on. There are other things in there like trusts that basically are almost like, how would I describe this? Like a trust is like a concept, I want to say, that will concept's not a good word. I can't find the word. It's like just out of reach. That will basically house money for a period of time. And it comes with stipulations that say, well, it cannot be, we want to attract this much interest and we're holding it for this period, and the funds can only be accessed in this way by this particular person, and this is the means that it should go through. And so basically, a trust shields an inheritance from predatory parties, people that would have dwindled this money. Dwindle is probably not a good word. Wasted is the best thing that comes to me. People that would have wasted it. It protects the money against predatory lawyers. Yes, because the people that you put in positions that take these oaths to be in these positions are also predators. Predatory judges, predatory family members, predatory parties. It protects the inheritance from them until the heir reaches certain milestones, and then it can be released. So these trusts can say things like, you have to be a certain age, you have to have graduated, school, you have to, if you graduate high school, you get this. If you graduate college, you get that. If you get a certain kind of employment, or in a certain kind of employment, you get this. And at this age, you get that. And there's also this concept that you have to be careful with how you word this, because they call it controlling from the grave. So there can be wills that are so airtight that you can only get your inheritance when you walk a particular path. And the path can be broad or it can be very narrow, like shoulder to shoulder, like the walls are shoulder to shoulder, where you can only walk in this way and get your inheritance. And usually the purpose of developing a will in this way is for the protection of the parties who are supposed to inherit. It is not really to control them or control their life. There's some things that a lawyer is not going to want to put in a will. They'll advise against it because they'll worry about if it's enforceable. Like things like, you must marry somebody of this particular race and they must be over this age, or you must marry this person. That's kind of frowned upon. However, sometimes there are times where there's a reason why they might want someone to be of a certain race. So say, for example, this person shares your customs, and in your custom, this and this is supposed to happen. So say, for example, let's say, and I'm making this up completely because I don't know this for a fact, but let's say I am Black, and you have to marry someone who's also Black, because in Black culture, we may do this, but we never do that. You may have to marry someone who is African because, you may end up, you might be in a domestic violence situation, you might be cheated on, but they take care of the kids. So the real purpose behind it is not necessarily because it's going to be a perfect marriage, but really what they're trying to do is make sure that the cultural beliefs or something can protect the person who is inheriting. It can protect the heir. So what happens is there are also spiritual inheritances as well, last wills and testaments. And so in your last will and testament, before you can come into it, there are parameters in the same way. So for example, it only comes when you graduate spiritually in a certain place. It only comes at a certain age. It only comes when this happens or that happens or something else happens. And it's like that for your protection. Not just your protection, but the protection of what you're coming into. And not all spiritual inheritances are just something that you are there to enjoy. It's something that is family money. So let's look at families when families leave inheritances. So let's look at, say, for example, the royal family. The royal family, the way it works for them is while they're alive, they accumulate wealth. Their money makes money while they're alive without working for it. Just because of the way they set up their financial structures. I'm not going to it because I don't want it to be long. But their money makes money. So when they pass on, the structures themselves have existed for hundreds of years. It really is not meant to be, it's almost set up where it's like it has to stay at a certain level. Like nobody can really use up, you can use up until a certain level. So let's say the level is 15% of whatever this is in one person's lifetime. They can use up to the 15%, but the rest of it is meant to grow and pass on. And that's how that family stays wealthy. That's how they protect their wealth, by making sure that they don't deplete it, and for any reason whatsoever. So now this person is educated on the fact that they can only spend within a certain amount, and so this is family money. And there, it also comes with stipulations like there are businesses we need to groom, there are things that we need to do because this is important. This is a part of what the family does. So the people that are chosen to inherit in this way or to succeed in this way, these people have to go through certain things and be educated and be deemed, even if they had the character, but be deemed competent enough to come into this inheritance, because this is how the family stays financially where it is. These are the parameters that are put in place. Spiritual inheritances are no different. It's the same thing. If you are not fully ascended, then you cannot inherit spiritually. You cannot come into your inheritance, because the inheritance, you have to think about it this way. The inheritance attracts a lot. Look at the royal family in England. Anybody that comes into that family who's not a royal, it is so tough that Meghan Markle was talking about, is it Meghan Markle? I forget her name. I forget her marriage name. But she was talking about the fact that she said she hasn't even begun to talk about the fact that she was thinking that she's been suicidal. She hasn't even begun to talk about that. Everybody that comes into this family is persecuted so much that though people on the outside think you're so lucky to be in this family, you're so lucky to have all of this, you who are in the family are thinking, what on earth did I do? Like, I might not leave here with my life. Because coming into the family makes you a targeted individual. Everybody in the family is a targeted individual. I'm sure before marriage, they probably take these people through so much security protocol. You can't have a cell phone like you used to, because perhaps the cell phone is going to be used as a tracking device. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. There are procedures that need to go in place before you can do this. You cannot have this account, you cannot have that account. There's probably so much that we don't think about. They probably can't take pictures of their kids and store it digitally the way that we can. They can't have cloud accounts. They can't have this, they can't have that. Why? They need to go through almost like an initiation before they can come into this space. Look, I look at Princess Diana, the way she lost her life, and I understand, yeah, this is a tough journey. So you need to understand that coming into spiritual inheritance is not the same. In the beginning, you're thinking, when you first start your ascension, you're thinking, listen, whatever these people are fighting me for, I don't know. This is a lot of persecution. This is a lot of persecution and abuse for whatever it is that they want, or whatever it is that you're gonna get. You almost want to pull your hand from it, but that's what they want. They want it to be so bad that you pull your hand from it. That's why God ties you to it. God makes it so that you cannot come from it. And the situation is extenuating, and God has to bind you to it. Your spirit team has to bind you to it because it is yours. In the beginning, you might think, oh my goodness, but later on, you're going to come to the point where you're going to realize, like, thank God they did that, because I would have walked away. You by yourself, you not knowing better, you would have walked away. So the situations here are, they are unpleasant at times. So I use the example of there's this Nigerian artist, Davido, and he was supposed to marry this girl a long time ago, and it just seems like every time they started to get married, something would happen. So they would have the meeting of the families, and then something would happen, and he calls her his wife, the family calls her his wife, the media calls her his wife. He's had affairs, he's had children outside, he's had all of these things happen, and it just continues almost to like drag on, where you think like these people are never going to get married. And I remember they ended up having a child together out of wedlock, which Nigerians never ever do. This girl was going to school to be a doctor, and she dropped out of school to be closer to him, and I thought this was craziness. This is something, again, Nigerians never do. She faced a lot of criticism for that. And then their baby drowned. The baby that they had together, the baby drowned. And then the baby passed away, and they still remained together despite that. I mean, there were so many things that happened, and then girls started coming out, and then there were, so her baby with him passed away, and other girls had kids with him in that time. So, you know, children tend to bond people together. And so these people have kids with the person that she's supposed to marry, and she doesn't even have one. And finally, when they got married, I remember I watched a clip of her and her mother, and her grandmother were there, as I think her grandmother was there as well. And she was dancing, and it just came to me. I was like, you know, sometimes we think that girl wanted to walk away, 1,000,000,000%. That girl probably looked at that thing and looked at that situation. She's like, I'm sure the pedigree, the family that she came from, she would have been able to marry somebody else, maybe not famous, but somebody who is of a similar stature. If she was with him, she could have pulled someone else. But it really just boils down to the fact that what is yours, sometimes your family has to hold it in place for you and hold you in place, because you want to walk away, because you don't understand, because you don't see the bigger picture. And spiritually, that's what it comes down to, is they want to beat you out of what is yours. They want to beat you out of what was left for you. They want to beat you out of what has been hard earned and hard fought by your spirit team. So you do come to the point where you're going to be exhausted of being in this situation, and things are not growing here, because you're literally walking through hell in order to get to heaven. You're walking through hell, literally. There are demons here, there are monsters here. It is treacherous. You experiencing indignities, hardship, abuses, and it takes going through all of that and holding on and keep moving through all of that to get to where you have to go. They are going to hold you to it because they understand that this is the path, and that's what spirit teams are for. And this can come in any sort of way. It could literally be a nagging feeling that constantly tells you, go over there, talk to that person, do this, hold on, keep going, keep pushing, whatever it is, regardless of how bad it is. And that is not a small nagging feeling. And those who experience it, they understand. It's not just like, I'm having a little feeling like I feel like I should. It's literally like a nagging feeling that could wake you up from the deepest sleep. It could, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's all day, all the time, because it's your spirit team ensuring that you make it to where you're supposed to go. Because where you're supposed to go, depending on what your path is, other people it's like your path involves other people. Your path is to assist other people on their path. Without you waking up, so many other people cannot wake up. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a spiritual teacher. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be some guru. It doesn't mean any of that. It could just mean that your path is tethered to other people. It could just mean that you're meant to meet people on that path, on that walk through hell. And just by seeing you, somebody might have an idea. Just by experiencing you, someone might come into things. So they know. And that's why a lot of times, like on our spiritual journey, there is so much help. There are so many people on that path with us energetically, spiritually, that are not even on our spiritual team necessarily, but they throw their support, they throw their fight behind us because we're the catalyst, we're the first one, we're like the first responder. So it's not just your spiritual team, it's like 1,000 people's spiritual teams behind it because they need you to get through. And their job is literally to hold their, child in place. And a child could be a 50, 67-year-old, doesn't matter. To hold whoever it is that their child in place and come fight on your team, get you through, and then they can get release on their end. A lot of times the path through is very chaotic, it's very unsavory, it's undignified. You're facing demons on this way, and it is like that. And even if it's that bad, that is the most either direct or the path that has the benefits that are needed. So there are lessons on this path that you have to learn. I know for myself, there's definitely lessons I had to learn. The path in and of itself grooms you for where you have to go, because where you're coming from, you are not yet appropriate to handle the load that you are to carry. And I've talked about this. I think the video was called Collective Cross Bearing, where it basically is the demons on the path are there to teach you. They're there to teach you about the true nature of human beings, because perhaps you are a little like myself. You are a little too optimistic about people being good people. Because you're a good person, you think everybody's a good person, and you don't know just how evil people are. Maybe you needed to understand how heavy this load was going to be, how careful you need to be. You needed to understand how to beat a demon, how to beat a destiny swap, how to break a soul tie or a soul binding. You needed to understand endurance. There are a lot of things that had to happen here before you got to the place where you could carry this thing responsibly, where it could be responsibly released into your hands. So it's almost like your spirit team is constantly doing checks, like, have you grown? Have you learned? Have you learned this lesson? Have you understood? And it takes time. And a lot of times you learn that through trauma. You learn that through, because lessons, somebody can tell you something. If you could learn from just hearing it, great. But oftentimes you got to face the first one and it smacks your hand, and the second one, a bone gets fractured, and then you're like, yeah, that second lesson, where it's the first lesson that you did learn but taught in another way, yeah, that is going to be problematic for you. And you're going to learn, I just can't talk to strangers. I just can't do this. I just can't do that. I just can't be as friendly as I was before. I can't whatever. And it's not that it makes me a bad person, but it's to protect myself. It is because people are being sent towards me 24 hours a day. So you end up learning things, and you end up, and whatever that lesson is, but sometimes the demons assigned to you, I want to say oftentimes, if they were allowed to be assigned to you, it's because of all the lessons that they need to teach you. And they will, culturally, we have this thing where we say, they will teach you, people teach you a good lesson. Like there are times where you warn someone about someone else and you're like, be careful of that person, and they say, no, 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 that person's good, and then we say they'll teach you a good lesson, and that means that whoever's warning you knows that this relationship will not last, but they also know that you will learn it will be so bad that you will learn a lesson from it. It's not just going to be that it's going to be unsavory to deal with them. You will learn a lesson from it. You will never deal with people like that again. So as you go through your path, as unsavory and as undignified and as difficult as it is meant to be here to teach you a lesson, multiple lessons. It's here to groom you into the person that you need to be, and that grooming is by force, but it is guided by your spirit team. Just as with your last will and testament, there might be a clause in there that you have to go through all of these things in order to get it. And one of these things might be your age. So say, for example, let's say your last will and testament is your Akashic records. And someone, somehow, there are people who can read those, they get access to it, and they say, oh, you're going to be blah, 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 and it's going to happen for you at 20 years old. And at 20 years old, you're going to win the lottery and you're going to be a multimillionaire. So they come in and they feign friendship with you. They feign that they're loyal to you. They fake it. And a lot of times they try to trauma bond with you, and that's what they do in these situations, is they create chaos in your life that is so bad, and they come in with a solution, and the solution's not a solution at all. It's to bind you in place. So they lock you down until you come into what you're supposed to come into, and they want to help you develop and groom whatever it is that you're supposed to groom and have. And they want to do it in such a way where they put their hands in it. They want to do it in such a way where they are a part of it, so that they can share in it, so that they can get a portion of it. So here you are, and this person, you think that you guys have a bond because when you were in need, they were there for you, so they say. But they created the need that you would have. So it's not a real bond of friends who went to war together or people who endured together. It's not real. So here you are in this situation with these people or this person, and they're just waiting till you turn 19. And if you don't share it when you turn 19, they want to take it from you altogether. They'll just get rid of you. They will fake paperwork. They will do whatever they have to. They'll get rid of you and they'll take it for themselves. These are the destiny thieves. These are the people that come in to try to take from you, and they hang around until it comes in. In a lot of situations, what happens is things are disguised. They might not know the true purpose of what you're going through. They might not know that, yes, it's coming, but it's coming, it can only come in a certain way. They might not know that they might have to work with a spirit, so they might be trying to trick you and appease your spirit guides at the same time. Try to worship your spirit guides, try to fake a relationship. I mean, these people have some damn gall and audacity, I'm telling you, as if spirits are stupid. It was written in your records that this particular demon would make its way here, and this particular demon has the audacity to do exactly what your spirit guides knew that it would do. Insulting. And so all of this happens, and you're walking your journey, and you're just here to learn. You're here to learn how demons operate, how people operate, the kind of things that you find yourself in, etc., etc. That's all this path is just learning. You're here to learn. It's not here to beat you down. It's not here to demotivate you. It's not here to make you suffer. You're just here to learn. So you're going through your journey, and I just want to let you know, a lot of us are born in disguise. Our families are spirit families. It's not human families. That's why They call people the black sheep, the one that didn't fit in, because this is not your real family. Like, you don't really know these people. So you're going through all of this, and you come into figuring out you don't belong in this place. But the reason is that God wants you in a place where the people around you will not appreciate you for who you are. The people around you will don't have spiritual eyes. The people around you cannot see your real value and your worth, and it's on purpose. So the people around you look at you like you're nothing and you're no one and you're undeserving, and they don't see your true power. And even if they did, they don't want to. They want to feel above you. They look down on you. So they're never going to develop you and push you forward and put you on a pedestal, and they're always going to beat down on you, but that is by design. They're going to hide you if they see something good in you, but that is by design. Because if you're put in the forefront and if people glorify you and put you on a pedestal before you're ready, destiny thieves are going to be attracted and show up from every corner of the earth. Demons are going to show up from every corner of the earth. Strong ones, powerful ones, ones with money, ones with pull, are going to show up from every corner of the earth to take you apart. So you are hidden in plain sight. You're in disguise. Oftentimes, people who have great destinies ahead of them, they're born to a drug addicted parent, an absent parent, they end up in the system. All of these kind of things start happening. Why? Why? Because had you been born into a family that could see the value of what you are, they would try to either take it from you, like a lot of people go through destiny swaps because of their family. They would either try to take it from you, or they would try to hold you back in any way that they possibly could. A lot of people end up in situations and it's their family that gang stalks them. They end up in situations, it's their families that persecute them. They end up in situations where there's too many stories about families are the ones that are gang stalking others. And I used to think, how is that possible? Because once these people want to destiny swap from you, they're going to go to anybody and offer anything, because once the destiny swap is done, that's a slither, that's nothing. Whatever they're going to give these people to stomp you out, to these people, it's a lot. They may say, if you do this, we're going to get $100,000. But what is $100,000 to a couple million? It's nothing. So of course they're going to take it. I used to think it's like maybe they offer 20K or 25K or whatever, but it's a lot. It must be more. I don't know, because it's worth losing you as a family member. It's worth losing you forever. So clearly it must be something. So oftentimes I want to say, if you find yourself in a position in this lifetime where your childhood was difficult, or you were born into a desolate situation or something, your circumstances were very off, I just want to let you know that is by design. That was not to punish you. It is by design. That you are very important to your spirit team, and they had to hide you. What do? It's like sometimes the best hiding places are in plain sight. And sometimes it's like they hold you back, they dull you down. I know in my situation, I've been held back in so many ways by forces that I cannot explain, things that I could have easily done. I'll give an example with my business. There are other businesses that it's not that they're more brilliant, it's just that their marketing is better. And I used to look at their marketing and I used to be like, damn, like I wish I had time to do that. I wish I had time to fix my website and get the right models and whatever, but honestly, I was too busy selling. Really, it took a lot of work. I used to have like black bags under my eyes just trying to keep up with packaging so much stuff and getting things mailed out. So I didn't have time for the marketing. And then when I finally woke up, I realized, oh, they have hands in their business. So they have business partners. They have business partners who have funding. They have not just business partners with funding, but they have a website developer that's dedicated. They have connections that they get into these places. They have people that help them. They have models that come to them that probably cost them nothing. They are a part of networks, and that's why things work for them. And the whole time I'm here and I'm like, I need more hands. I got to get my kids involved in helping me package, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And when they come for you, they want to create chaos with you and, you know, the people that are already working with you. So your good people that are working with you, they quit or they get fired. Now you're looking for other people. Everybody you work with, you got to get rid of, because you can sense that these people are not here to help. They're here to destroy. They want to put their hands in everything, and when they come with the help, they want to own things. They develop the Instagram page, but they own it. They develop the website, but they own it behind the scenes. You know, the kind of things I found a shopping catalog connected to Shopify on my Facebook account that I wasn't an administrator on, that I didn't put together. And then ads kept coming up on my YouTube all the time. Go to Shopify, go to Shopify. And I was working with one girl and she said, oh my God, babe, you should be with Shopify. They already have the path developed of how they're going to siphon from you what is yours. They want to own what is yours. When they have access from the hacking and they access the emails and the passwords, so they could go in and create fixtures and structures that when you develop something, they could take it from you. So you're being stagnated and held back. Spirit will not release this inheritance unless all the doors are closed and unless everything is taken care of, and in due time it will. So we must trust on this journey that though people feel confidence that they're blocking you, they are put in place to block you until the time is right. They're not there blocking you because they want to block you. They're blocking you because they have to block you. This is their job, whether they know that they're of service or not. And a lot of times they become of service. I know in my situation, people became of service because they took contracts on, and now they can be put in place and utilized. Like, think about how genius that is. The demon that is persecuting you is in service to what is protecting you. So you have to trust the process, that this is a lot more complex and complicated than you could have ever put together yourself, but it is perfect in its design. If there were means of you being developed before your time, they'll stop it, they'll block it. I had places that I could have been, connections that I could have made, that they beat out of my hands because the time wasn't right. And in their mind, they said, well, we're blocking them. And if it's not for us, it's not going to go through. They remain hacked on your devices. They remain meddling. They remain doing things, complicating things, pulling things down, ripping things apart. Because as you're putting it together, they're destroying it. And it just gives you time to develop yourself, time to take your time to develop patience and endurance and whatever else. And everything that they do to you is on the path. Everything that happens to them is on the path. Everything is on the path. You just have to trust the path and keep moving and keep walking and putting one foot in front of the other. Help always comes at the right time. It's always random, it's sporadic, it's weird. It's like somebody just comes along and that person is going to put their hand in your life. And even if, and help comes in multiple forms, like I just said, help can be propelling you forward or help can be holding you back. Help can be stagnating you or help can be pushing you forward, because everything is about timing. But the help comes at the right time. No matter what position you're in and no matter what way it had to come through, you have to trust your gut, and that you will know when you meet people what their purpose is, if their purpose in your life is going to be temporary or if it's going to be a long-term thing. You're going to figure out who you should trust. You're going to learn to have a gut feeling about who you should trust, places you should go, what you should be a part of. Everything is meant to happen, even the things that bother you. So even things that hurt you, even things where you're like, oh my God, that was a mistake, but that is the lesson. That is the lesson. You got to get burnt to learn a lesson. Sometimes it's like you get burned. And then there are times where you just narrowly escape with your life because Spirit's trying to tell you, like, hello, they will unalive you 100%. You cannot move around like this. You have to be diligent. You have to be cautious. You have to be observant. You cannot, like, they will bomb themselves in a house with you so you don't get it. These are not energies that care about their life at all. They have no life. They're doing this because they have no life. There is no hope outside of stealing from you. You are the be all and end all to somebody else. If they can't get it from you, they will destroy both of you. So it is important for you to see things as they are. Difficult ascensions, this is a part of the last will and testament. It is a part of what you have to go through, that your ascension be this difficult. Because if your ascension is not this difficult, you're going to get to a point in life where very quickly they're going to take it from you. They're going to take it from you. They're going to beat you down. These are energies. It's not enough for them to beat you down. They want to stomp you into non-existence. They are hateful. They're born like that. Excuse me. There are some people that never, in my opinion, they never were children. They were born a demon. And I know that people will say, well, why do you speak like that? Why do you say that? Because if there are people that are born angels, why would you think that they're not people that are born demons? We like to acknowledge just the good part, and we don't like to acknowledge like the reality that there are bad things out there, there are bad people out there. Why would there not be people that are born demons? How? How is that possible? It's not. There are some people that have always been like this. They've always been envious. They've always been taking from others. They've always been lazy. The only time they feel motivation is to steal, is to lie, is to be corrupt. They cannot produce anything, but they've always had a horrible life experience. They attract all manner of misfortune, and everybody around them is always unfortunate. People come to them, and before people come to them, their life is one way. And within 6 months around them, these people's lives are dragged down from the ceiling. When these people first came to them, these people, I'm not saying they did the greatest or they were the greatest people, but they had certain things that were occurring. Things could work. They could make an income. They could live a particular life. As soon as they end up coming around this person, they don't look the same. Everything is upside down. They're unrecognizable. It's a mess because of things that they come into this life with. They don't come in with blessings. They come in with the opposite. They come in with curses. And then you end up meeting this person and you have to learn, how do I block people like this out? How do I clean off a curse? How do I pull my energy? How do I do this? How do I do that? That is the lesson. Because you're going to meet people. There are some people that are so cursed that their specialty is enmeshing their energy with other people, and that is what will curse people, because they know it for a fact. They know that they are cursed. They know it. There are people who know that just by putting their hand in anything somebody else is doing, that it will be destroyed. And so they can literally charge people for that. Like, I will get involved in this person's life and I'll destroy it. Just by virtue of being there. They don't even have to be evil. That is how much they're carrying. And there are people who come into this lifetime and literally the purpose of them being here is to pay ultimate karma. The purpose of them being here, they were born to never be born again. That is the purpose that they reincarnated. There's all kinds of things happening on this path. There are all kinds of things. All that needs to happen is you need to trust your journey. You need to trust the difficulty level of your journey. You need to trust the path that you're on. You're literally where you're supposed to be, regardless of how uncertain it feels, regardless of how tough it feels. It feels uncertain because you don't know the path forward. You don't know where you're going, how you're going to get there. You know nothing. You just know you wake up every day and this is all Spirit has asked you to do, and this is what you got to do. And that's how you push forward. A lot of times before you are completely unawakened, nothing is going to work for you in the way that you want to. You're untethered in the way that you should be from your spirit guides, your angels. You're not carrying your energies in the way that your energies need to be carried just yet. But your true ascension starts at certain periods of time. And when they start, you know, things slowly but surely begin to be healed. You know, Spirit guides you and says, okay, you got to stop drinking, you got to stop swearing, you got to stop this, you got to stop that. And to the outside world, they think, well, how could you be this when you used to be that? How can you be this when you used to be that? And they're judging from the outside, but your spirit team's working on you one step at a time. They're working to get you to the place where you have to be, where slowly but surely you're going to get there. And people are going to look at your past and past things that have happened, and they're going to use that against you to say, well, how can you be working with God when you used to blah, blah, blah? But that was on your path. Whatever you did before was on your path. You needed to know what that was like. Sometimes just for the purpose of knowing how to be compassionate towards other people, knowing that other people are going to go through difficult situations as well in their life. And that when you get there and you meet these kinds of people, you need to have compassion for them because you've seen this kind of thing before. Sometimes people think being a healer is like, I'm going to mix potions and give to people. Being a healer is being a very loving person who's going to meet people who've gone through traumatic things and who's going to love them back to life. And someone who's going to be able to say, I know, I went through it too. This is what I did. This is how I got through it. Being a person who has faced so much hardship that you are gentle with everybody because you understand how horrendous it is to survive something. If you're surviving gang stalking, I tell you, you are facing, I don't want to call it the worst evil on the planet because it is not. It is not. If you can even imagine that, it is not the worst evil on the planet. But it's really, to me, I think it's really high up there. So if you can survive this, it's not because there's not more evil out there to survive. It's not because other things out there are not going to be as scary, but you're going to develop the tools needed to navigate other problems, because you're going to need to navigate other problems in life. And I hate to say it, but think about this logically. If you graduate life like gang stalking, they call it the program, if you get through it successfully, we know, and I hope we can all agree, that problems you face in life, the problems you faced as a kid and you turn back, you're like, that was nothing. I wish I could go back to that. Those kinds of problems. So the problems get more difficult. And if you're going to get to a point where your problems are going to get more difficult, then what kind of problems would you be facing if you survived gang stalking? You would probably get to a point where you turn and look behind you and be like, I remember the days where I was just scared of normal people following me around. I wish I could go back to that. Let me tell you something. If you do not have money in your pocket right now that they can steal and they persecute you like this, they're following you everywhere. These are normal people. These are people, if you started following them back in the store, they would panic, because then that's the day you realize that they were gang stalked themselves too. So they have this trigger in them that if you exhibit gang stalking behaviors, it goes right back in. And perhaps they are still actively gang stalked. Every time they step out of line, here comes the gang stalker. So they know they got to step back in line again and do the things that they are asked to do. I'm positive that's how it works. Positive. But imagine you survive that and you become the person who can survive being gang stalked. You learn all the lessons, you close all the doors, you graduate through it. And now you get to a point where you can build a business despite gang stalking existing. You can thrive, you can survive. And now this problem shows up again. It's the same behaviors of intimidation, people showing up everywhere. But now, instead of them being regular people on the streets, it's like killers. It's like people who are paid to assassinate people. Those are the people following you around. You're gonna look back and say, I really miss the days when the people following me were just normal human beings, like, mom and pop type human beings. I wish that I could go back to the days where normal people were following me. People who were scared of the police, people who were scared of their reputation. Because these ones here, whatever they're a part of, they don't seem to care about a thing. And the police are scared of them. It's not that the police are in cahoots or compliant. No, I'm saying the police are scared of them. The police want nothing to do with whatever they're doing. That is the day that you realize that, let me just enjoy the place that I'm in right now, because I don't know how bad things can get. That is what I would suggest to you. And that's why I constantly remind people that things can always be worse. You think your circumstances are bad. I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm just saying, and your circumstances are grueling, but I give this as an example. There are people in countries right now who are sitting on a platform, no bed, no chair, nothing, no furniture, no walls, because the building has been bombed. They sleep in the open air like the birds, like the animals outside. Nothing. And every 20 to 25 minutes, a bomb drops, and they don't know when the next one is going to drop on them. That is a panic response that they have every time they hear shells drop. Because I'm telling you, when you live in life or death situations like this perpetually, you do not acclimatize to that. You don't get used to that. It's not like you're hearing them drop and then you're running to go to school and to go shopping and to have a life and to have an internet connection. The internet towers are gone. There is no connection with the outside world. People don't know how bad it is. There's no running water. There's no food. You're witnessing people go mad. Now, if I asked you, I put two choices. I said you can live in North America or wherever you're at and you can be gang stalked and harassed and followed, or you can go over there. Which one are you going to pick? The lesser of the two evils. This is way less evil than that. There are babies screaming night and day that are growing up in war, and there is no relief from this situation. Nobody is helping. It's like a whole country is being gang stalked. It's like they're trying to put you under extinction, but as a country, like you will no longer exist, and you can see it coming. That's how you feel as a TI. You feel helpless. You feel nothing's working. You feel you're in the worst situation that's ever been created, and it's not the worst evil that is out there. It's not. You would just have to be confident that God is working on your situation. Do not ever just exist as one who is waiting for relief to come from the sky. Relief is here now. You have to learn how to overcome every challenge. Do not just endure challenges. Overcome everything by constantly trying to get out of it. Sometimes you can't get out of it up until a certain time, but that doesn't mean that you stop trying, because every lesson that you learn here becomes something that you put in place when you get out of here. Because again, there are going to be bigger problems. The whole point of life is to learn and grow and evolve. So your soul comes back to evolve every single time. That's why you're facing these kinds of lessons, because you have the ability to transcend this problem. I can tell you, one of the biggest hurdles that they put in the way of TIs, and they know it, and TIs targets don't know it, is this lack of belief in spirituality, because it's the spiritual path. This is the only way out. You must accept your spiritual path. You cannot go to a lawyer. You cannot go to a doctor. You cannot go to the police. You cannot go to you gotta go in the spirit. This is how they're attacking you. And by telling you it's the military, makes you feel like it's a problem that's too big to even bother trying to fix. By telling you it's the government, a government watch list, or the CIA, it's a problem too big to fix. That's what they're saying. Well, you might as well just endure it. You might as well just be a TI for 10 years and 20 years, because what are you going to do? And they put other people in place to say, I've been a TI for 27 years, my entire life, since I was 9 years old. It's not to say that people haven't been targeted since that young age, since somebody found out that they had spiritual gifts, since somebody found out that they had a spiritual inheritance, but these people are living off of your spiritual inheritance while they stagnate you spiritually. So in order to break out of this, whatever this situation is, in order to break out of it, you got to have the spiritual path. You got to connect to God. You have to connect to your spirit guides. You have to open up your eyes to what's happening. How is it possible I'm in my house and I feel physically attacked? How is it possible that I cannot sleep at night? How is it possible that I have no privacy, but there's no devices? That's not no freaking government watch list. The military and the government would need some sort of device to spy on you, wouldn't they? If you took your own body out to a desert and there's literally no towers, no devices, no internet connection, no Wi-Fi connection, no phone towers, nothing, they would still know. They would know what you're eating, they would know what you're wearing. Not how. They've convinced people that they have some sort of microchip, that they've been microchipped and please, they take it to the outer limits always with these explanations that are not true. The reality is they're using spiritual means. They're scrying, they're spying, they're psychically monitoring. Why? Because they are tethered to you. Why? Because they've spiritually binded themselves to you. Once the spiritual binding breaks, this is your job to get the spiritual binding off. Once it breaks, they can't see inside anymore. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's coming to you. They don't, all of this breaks. They can't access you. They need different ways. They need to put the tracking on the car. They need to energetically try to come in your space. They need to do all of these things to know what's going on. Otherwise, they cannot. So you must understand the ways in which they do the things that they do. And people like myself come here to graduate these programs, to come back and give you the information, to navigate the problem. And, you know, for someone like myself, I don't give a solution until I know it's guaranteed, it's firm. I don't just come and give us, I gotta beat it a couple times, I gotta rework it a couple times until it works. I gotta wait till they break it, because I know that they will, because they're desperate. They've started a process where they've tethered themselves to you, and everything has to work. If it doesn't work, it's them. They suffer everything that they've done to you. They go through it, and they know that. That's why they fight tooth and nail. That's why they'll fight half dead, half alive, on their deathbed. They will fight. They will barely have the energy to lift a finger, and they will continue fighting just because they know what they've started. You must take the spiritual path. And they almost make it where targets like demonize hearing about this, because targets do not want to believe that this is what's going on. And I don't blame them. This is not the easiest thing to accept. I just want you to know that Spirit is doing everything for your safety and for your safe passage through, and that you're going to be who you were always meant to be, and you're going to get everything that you deserve. And there is no way that they're not going to let it happen. That's why spirit guides are with you night and day. People cannot be, your spirit guides are also with your enemies night and day, every last one of them. I don't care if there's a million of them. Spirits are omnipresent. They can be everywhere at once. There cannot be a plan set in motion against you that spirit hasn't heard, that they're not going to tell you. At the time that the plan is being made against your life, Spirit will tell you, pack your bags and go. They will not even be able to conjure it up before Spirit will say it's time to get up and leave. Spirit knows. That's the reason you want to tether with Spirit. That's the reason you want to walk your path. It's for your safety. It's not for punishment, and your path is yours. It has nothing to do with other people. If the entire world says you're demonic, you're a demon, you're this, it's your path. It's your life. You do what is best, what feels best for you in your gut. I want to talk about the strengths that we have, or you need in order to walk these difficult journeys. All the strengths that you need are not spiritual gifts. Like, spiritual gifts are put on a pedestal by other people. If somebody has a gift of being psychic, of doing this, of doing that, there is too high of a value put on spiritual gifts. There is too much of a dependence on spirituality, and there needs to be a balance, because we're on earth, we are human beings, and we're living in a physical reality. This is where we reside, and we don't put enough emphasis on the 3D, and we put too much in the 5D. Your real strengths that are going to get you through all of this is going to be the strength of your character. And I don't just mean being a good person. I don't just mean doing what's right when you should be doing what's right, even though that is very essential. I mean, when I say the strength of your character, I'm really talking about how strong are you? How determined are you? How resilient are you? Strength of character is essential in getting through this. You got to have a strong character. You got to have a strong heart, because it's going to take a beating. Your heart is meant to be loving. That is what the heart is for. Your heart is not there to be put aside. It's not there to be muted. It's not there to be paused. It's not there to be dampened so you can use just your head. Everything in balance. So your heart is going to go through things, and healing needs to be perpetual. Healing is not just once or twice or a couple. Healing is consistent. It's almost like weekly, daily. You got to assess yourself. You got to gauge yourself. You got to look at, where are my responses coming from? Where are these behaviors coming from? Why is this difficult? And you got to continue to heal yourself all the time. Your willpower is going to be essential, because you are going to have to constantly motivate yourself to continue moving forward. You're going to have to constantly motivate yourself to continue pushing towards whatever targets, whatever goals you have. And it is not going to be made easy. There are always going to be obstacles and always going to be challenges. And if you know nothing else, you got to know that you cannot give up. If you know nothing else, you got to be able to trust your gut. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, it must always be about how it feels. This is a detector that is inside of you that Spirit has access to, and I always say it's the voice of God. This is something that I have never seen manipulated. People might try to block your third eye. They might try to block your intuition. They might do all of that, but the gut has a mind and a life of its own, and that's why we have it. The things that we have that are non-spiritual are the things that cannot be manipulated. Your healing, once you make a decision to heal and you do the work to heal, you heal. Once you decide and you determine that you will never give up in the face of anything that comes your way, your willpower cannot be subverted. Once your heart is loving, believe me, that's why they say love is the strongest thing that is out there. It's loving, it just sees compassion, it feels, it may go through a lot, but it can't be changed. That's why a lot of targets are people who have been through the worst for such an extended period of time, and the most loving, compassionate people still, despite. Why? Because there's nothing you can do to turn a person's heart who's a good person. Your patience is one of the tougher parts of this journey. Not just patience of like, how long is this going to take? Because you can, speaking for myself, I can withstand things for an indefinite period of time. It is what it is. It's the patience to understand that you're dealing with a demon. It's the patience to understand that this is what it comes with. It's the patience to not lash out. The patience. It's easy to lash out. It's easy to fight. It's easy to persecute people. It's easy to fight with people energetically. Like they will experience karma and they will say it is you. But when it's you, it's you. They know it's you, but they will experience karma and they will say it's you. But fighting would be the easiest thing in the world. You cannot do a better job than karma, because karma is precise. It is to the letter. It measures with precision. Karma makes people experience themselves. You cannot make people experience themselves from where you are. If you're a good person, how can you begin to devise the things that other people do to you? Your mind wouldn't even go there. Or you would say, you know what, I don't like this person, but I wouldn't go that far. Like, this is a bit too far, because that turns you into a monster to do that. So you're like, yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Karma can go that far, because karma is an energy. Karma can get it done. So why try to do what karma is gonna do? Patience to not fight back is the hardest part to me of this journey. This is the hardest part. You can deal with everything else. You acclimatize to everything else. You figure everything else out. But the patience, this is tough. And the reason the karma is coming is because you're not even fighting back. You're not even fighting back. You're letting karma do its thing. You have to know the difference between defending yourself and fighting back. There's sometimes you have to say absolutely not and you gotta push back, but other times you gotta just let God and the universe do its thing. These things, I've listed 6 things that have nothing to do with any spiritual gifts. These things are tough to do, but these things are in all human beings. These are our gifts. These are in all human beings. Willpower, character, a good heart. It's in everyone. People will think that because you're loving, you're weak. And how comes targets last so long? They will think that it's your loving nature that makes you weak, because they do see love and compassion and goodness as weakness. But instead, these are superpowers. These are strengths. These are strengths. Love is the most powerful thing out there, because love heals. Love rejuvenates. And you're going to suffer indignities, not hardships. Hardships we can manage. Indignities are dehumanizing. They traffic spiritual people, sexually traffic them. They drug them, they persecute them, they do the most manner of evil to them to destroy their connection to God. So you will suffer indignities, things that are undignified. That is what you're going to go through. And when you go through these things, you need to heal. And that healing is going to come from love. And if the healing does not come from the inside, it's going to come from the outside. It's going to come from the divine. Because the love of God is the purest love you can ever experience. It is the most healing love you can ever experience. And God knows that after you go through all of this, He's going to love you back to who you were, to even a better version of who you are, an ascended version. The ascended version, the North Node version of who you are, a loving, compassionate human being. And she's never going to give up on you. The Holy Spirit is never going to give up on you. You're going to focus on your path. You're going to keep focusing on your path. Focus on yourself and let Spirit do the parts that they have to do. And as long as you listen to the letter, to everything that they tell you to do in a timely fashion, as long as you listen, you'll be fine. There are going to be times Spirit's going to urge you that things need to be done very quickly. And there is going to be times they're going to have patience with you. And that is because they know the journey and they know the timing. So the scripture that I got today is from Job. And I don't know if this is a good thing because, oh my goodness, did Job not go through everything? Is Job not the quintessential targeted individual? Job was the first targeted individual that I read about in the Bible before the way Jesus was targeted. It was Job. So it's Job chapter 24. And this says, delight in the Almighty. Why? Seeing times are not hidden from the Almighty. Do they that know him not see his days? Why? When seeing that times are not hidden from the Almighty, do they that know him not see his days? Some remove the landmarks, they violently take away flocks and feed thereof. They drive away the ass of the fatherless, or I should say the donkeys of those who don't have fathers. And they take the widow's ox for a pledge. Widow is a woman without a husband and she only has an ox, and they'll take that as a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together. Behold, as wild asses in the desert, go they forth to their work, rising betimes for a prey. The wilderness yieldeth food for them and for their children. They reap everyone his corn in the field, meaning that they don't let people reap their own harvest, they steal it. And they gather the vintage of the wicked. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains and embrace the rock of want of a shelter, homeless, sleeping outside. They pluck the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge of the poor. They manipulate the vulnerable. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry, which make oil within their walls and tread their wine presses and suffer thirst. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out, yet God layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. They don't know the way of the light, and they don't abide in the path of the light. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and the needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses, which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light. For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. Everybody who knows them is in a shadow of death. He is swift as the waters. Their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyards. Doesn't want to work, doesn't want to toil, doesn't want to reap. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so doth the grave those which have sinned. The womb shall forget him. The womb, birth, life. Life shall forget him. The worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree. He evil entreateth the barren. He evil entreateth the barren that beareth not, and doeth not good to the widow. He draweth also the mighty with his power. He riseth up, and no man is sure of life. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. And if it be not so now, who will make me a liar, and make my speech nothing worth? These are the entities that persecute us. Their job is to destabilize us. Their job is to destabilize us completely, to take our life from us, to take the life force energy out of our body. These are people that want to live your life, and they don't want you to have your life. So it's to the point that they would prefer that you not have your life if they can't have it. All of that being said, regardless of that being said, you have a mighty shield, and you are protected on your path, and you will be fine. The spirit message card of the day is: perhaps you are reminded all too often just how quickly the phases in your life can shift. One change after another, you're learning to adapt and grow. Be kind and gentle to yourself. And I think we will all be doing okay eventually. Help is not coming. Help is here. Help is here now. And the last card I'm going to read: if you pay close attention, you will notice all the doors that once closed are opening up, just in a different form. Things may not appear exactly as you had envisioned. So this is my message for today. Thank you for hanging in there with me. And my channel is slow for now. I know it's not going to be slow forever. Whatever God's purpose is for my channel to be slow, that's fine. It's like this path is about accepting things as they are. But this is my message. So if you are watching and you have good intentions, like, share, and subscribe to the page, and that helps us grow. So have yourself a good day, and do remember that God genuinely loves you.